So let's just get right into it. What if I told you that almost everything you've ever learned about being an empath is, well, completely upside down? That there's a totally different way to look at this sensitivity, one that doesn't leave you feeling constantly wiped out.
If you're someone who feels things deeply, this probably sounds all too familiar. You're told you have this amazing gift, right? But most of the time it just feels like you're emotionally hungover, totally overwhelmed after even the simplest interactions. So what's the deal? Why does it feel so much like a curse?
And that right there, that's the heart of the problem. See, it turns out your sensitivity isn't the issue at all. The real problem is that you were handed a faulty user manual for it. The instructions are just wrong.
So let's take a look at this faulty user manual. You know, all that common feel-good wellness advice, it actually encourages this kind of radical, unguarded openness that, for a sensitive person, is basically a one-way ticket to burnout.
And you can see the direct cause and effect playing out, right? We're told to absorb pain, hold space for literally everyone, and just radiate love until there's nothing left. And what's the result? Chronic exhaustion. We lose track of who we are, and eventually we just hit a wall. It's not a sustainable way to live.
But there is another way. Decades ago, the famous psychologist Carl Jung studied people with these exact sensitivities, and he didn't see them as broken or sick. He saw them as having these incredibly sophisticated tools for perceiving the world around them.
So here's the absolute game changer. It's all about a shift in perspective. Your sensitivity isn't supposed to be a sponge for all the world's pain. According to Jung, it's more like a high-tech guidance system designed to feed you real, actionable information. Jung actually identified 6 core abilities that empaths tend to have, but here's the catch. He also discovered that most people were using these amazing tools in ways that were actively hurting them. So let's break that down.
And I mean, just look at this number, 95%. That is staggering. Jung found that almost every sensitive person he studied was misusing their own abilities. They were turning this incredible navigation system into a self-inflicted wound. This isn't some rare issue. It's practically the default experience.
Okay, so this is basically the entire roadmap from feeling drained to feeling strong. Let's just quickly run through them. Emotional field perception, that's about shifting from absorbing feelings to just perceiving them as data. Unconscious pattern recognition is about going from distrusting your gut to actually believing it. Shadow detection, which we'll get into, is about discernment, not rescuing. Trajectory perception is about seeing where things are headed and deciding what to do, not just ignoring the signs. Energetic resonance means you choose who to connect with. And finally, dimensional perception is about holding your own wisdom, not trying to manage everyone else. This is the whole framework in a nutshell.
Let's start with that first one, emotional field perception. You know what this is. You walk into a room and just feel a wave of tension or sadness before anyone even says a word. For a lot of us, this was a survival skill we learned as kids. The misuse, the mistake, is thinking, wow, I'm so anxious right now. The shift is to think, there is anxiety in this room. It's just data, it's not your identity.
And here's how you can actually start practicing that. It's super simple. When a really strong emotion just hits you out of nowhere, just stop, pause, and ask yourself one simple question. Is this feeling actually mine? That's it. That one question starts to build a little bit of a wall between your emotional baseline and all the external noise you're picking up.
Okay, let's jump to another really key ability, shadow detection. This is when you can just sense what someone is pushed down or is in denial about. Their insecurities, their hidden agendas. Now, the classic mistake is to see that wound and feel this overwhelming urge to jump in and rescue them. But the real purpose of this tool, it's to see that information and use it to discern, is this person actually safe for me to be around?
And this is just so incredibly important. You can have all the compassion in the world for someone's backstory. You can understand all the reasons why they act the way they do. But that understanding does not obligate you to put up with harmful behavior. Compassion for their past doesn't mean you have to sign up for their present.
So all of this brings us to the single root cause of why empaths get so burned out. All of these misuses, the absorbing, the rescuing, the ignoring your own intuition, they all grow from one single core misunderstanding.
It really is a fascinating question, isn't it? Why would smart, perceptive people constantly use their own internal guidance system against themselves? Well, the answer lies in a story they've been told their entire lives.
This is it. This is the big one. This is the belief that messes everything up. We've been taught, by society, by our families, even by well-meaning spiritual communities, that if you can feel things deeply, then your job is to use that feeling to heal and hold everybody else.
But Jung's counterargument is as revolutionary as it is simple. These abilities, they are for you. They are your personal navigation equipment. Their number one job is to guide and protect you, not to be a free emotional support service for the entire world.
And once you really get that, everything just clicks into place. Pattern recognition isn't about being judgmental. It's about keeping yourself safe. Shadow detection isn't a call to a rescue mission. It's a tool to help you decide who you let into your life. These are your personal survival tools, designed to help you navigate a really complex world.
So what does it actually look like to make this shift in real life? What happens when you stop using these abilities against yourself and start using them for yourself? Well, you go from a state of constant exhaustion to a state of genuine empowerment. I mean, just look at the difference here. On one side, the exhausted empath is basically a victim of what they perceive. They're controlled by every emotional current in the room. But the conscious empath, they're informed by what they perceive. They use that data to make smart choices, but they aren't getting swept away by the current. Now, a heads up. From the outside, this change can be misunderstood. People might even say you've become closed off or less caring, but that's not what's happening. You're not less open, you're just more discerning. You're directing your precious energy toward people and things that are actually worth it, instead of letting it leak out all over the place.
If you take only one thing away from all of this, please let it be this: your sensitivity has never, ever been the problem. You are not broken. You were simply given the wrong instruction manual for a very powerful piece of equipment. The way forward is really about these small, consistent shifts. It's about practicing how to perceive instead of absorb. It's about trusting your gut instead of talking yourself out of it. And it's about acting on what you know to be true instead of just hoping things will magically get better. So let's end on this thought. That feeling of being too sensitive? A lot of the time, that's just the feeling of being too aware to keep pretending anymore. You know what you know. The real question is, what are you going to do about it now?